It's chilly, but we're not turning on the furnace yet.
Hey, if you're like us and you have like a specific goal date in mind, you're like, here is the marker and the furnace does not go on until we hit this specific date. I actually did a poll on our Instagram and Facebook accounts just to kind of see where our audience was at with this whole idea of turning the furnace on. And it appears that y'all are kind of on the same page as we are. The most common date that was mentioned was November 1st. And then one lady said, I don't turn it on till Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And of course, this whole furnace thing does kind of depend upon where you live logistically and geographically as to what your need is. But regardless, pretty much of where you live, some supplemental heat is generally necessary at some point during what we would call the cold season. We mentioned November 1st is our goal date. And in this video, what we'd like to do is just show you some great ideas, 25 ways that we are keeping comfortable in our home without turning on the furnace.
Obviously, if you don't turn your furnace on until November 1st, like us, it doesn't mean that you have to go through all of that time suffering with cold. There are some things that you can do to keep yourself warm in your house until you officially turn that furnace on.
If you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
This is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. All right, so the first thing we will do to avoid turning on the furnace, Larry, is?
I think this one's kind of obvious, and that's to layer up with some extra clothing. It's amazing how you can put a little clothing on while you're in a little cooler house and stay very warm. In fact, I have an example right here of my heated vest jacket. This is a battery-operated jacket. It keeps me very warm. I turn that on low heat. I can run that for the whole evening. Then when I go to bed, I can charge it up. It'll be ready for the next day.
But underneath of that, so he has his flannel shirt,
Yep.
He has a t-shirt, and often when it gets a little bit chillier, he's going to have some sort of a thermal undershirt underneath of the undershirt, the undershirt. I don't know how that works, but it's the shirt that's underneath the undershirt. So point number 2 is get out that long underwear because this is the season that it's intended for. And point number 3 is to get yourself a heated vest like this. We're going to leave a link to this one, guys. It's our affiliate link. It'll be in the description of the video. So,
and a lot of layered clothing doesn't really cost you any extra. These are pieces of clothing you have around your house for winter wear anyway. You can start putting those on a little ahead of time and avoid turning that furnace on.
And speaking of layering things, let's talk about double socks. You can have a thinner sock and then a thicker sock on top of the thinner socks, or you can go with wool socks. One of our viewers just wrote in and said, 10 years ago, she did put out some money for 6 pairs of wool socks, but she said she has worn them a lot, and she finally just darned a teeny tiny hole in one of the wool socks. Wool socks, cared for, will last you a really long time.
Those are some good long-lasting wool socks, I got to say.
Yeah, no doubt.
Those are excellent. Another form to keep your feet warm, and remember, if you're keeping your feet warm, there are certain parts of the body that if you keep warm, it helps keep all the rest of your body in a warmer state. So having your feet warm is very important. Another one that I bought Hope a set of these years ago. These are heated socks, and they're battery run. There's the batteries. That is a battery that's a USB rechargeable battery. You just plug it into a USB charger, let it plugged in for about 4 hours. That'll run up to full speed. Then you plug that into the sock. At the top of it, there's a little outlet, and you stick it in a little window, kind of a compartment there that holds,
like a little pocket.
It holds the battery in place. Isn't that cool? So she has a set of those. There's 2 of them there with the set of batteries, and that will keep her feet warm.
I have perpetually cold feet in the winter, so this was like one of the best things he ever got me for Christmas one year, guys. Just to kind of give you an idea, I can put this on now. It's low, medium, or high. I generally keep them on high until my feet get warm and then switch it to low. It'll keep my feet warm all the time I'm asleep. So at least 8 hours with one charge of the battery, and the next day then I go ahead and charge the battery back up again. Here's something else heated that you might want to think about using. That is a heating pad. The whole idea with a heating pad is to think about your core. Now, clearly, you're not going to walk around with a heating pad, but
not.
sitting with a heating pad, you can put this across your front, or it works even better, guys. I got to tell you, this size, you can get different size heating pads, but with this one, you kind of curl it around your back where you're sitting on the couch, and it will keep you really toasty warm.
That is a very handy thing to get some heat into your body core.
We told you in this video we were going to share 25 different ways that we stay comfortable in our home without turning on the furnace. But eventually, you will have to turn that furnace on.
Yes.
And when you do, then your concern sort of shifts to how much your winter energy bills are going to run. Over the past 30-some years, we have developed a number of different strategies that have allowed us to keep our energy bills in the lowest 15% of the energy bills in our area.
Yeah.
The amount of energy that we use is almost equivalent to that of a brand new energy efficient built home. In fact, RN has been following our ideas for quite some time, and she sent us a really nice note that said she had saved so much energy and she had dropped her bill so much that the energy company sent someone to her home just to double check, make sure that there wasn't any way that she was keeping the amount of energy that she was using from being recorded on her energy bill. And she said, nope. She said, if I was going to cheat the energy company, I wouldn't even know how to begin doing it. But RN is not alone. We've gotten a lot of other testimonials that tell us that the strategies that we're teaching really do work. In fact, we put all these strategies together. We had so many people that asked. We put them all together into one handy ebook bundle, and it's called the Home Energy Savings Guide. But let us share with you just a couple more testimonials from people who have told us they tried it and it worked.
Here's what Kim said. These books are loaded with lots of good ideas on cutting utility bills that we are trying out. You can get started on so many of them right away. Now, instead of dreading our next bill, we are eager to see how much we have reduced on our usage. Susan has another great testimony similar to Kim's. I received the ebook in September and immediately began following your advice. In October, my usage dropped by 29%, very similar, and in November, 35%, in spite of having company at our house for a week and a half over Thanksgiving. I have much less anxiety about our electric bill now and feel like I have the power to make meaningful changes.
Anybody who makes a pun, I'm really a huge fan of.
Thank
you,
that.
Susan, for that pun.
That's great.
Pat reduced her energy bills, guys, by $41 in 1 month. Now, why is that important? Because the Home Energy Savings Guide, the whole series of 5 ebooks that you get with that guide, is $35. So that means that she recouped that $35
right
in
away.
1 month of using these tips. Guys, the Home Energy Savings Guide bundle, we're going to make sure that there's a link to it in the description of the video.
The next thing we do in order to save money by not turning the furnace on too soon is we wrap up in warm blankets in our living room area. And what we usually do is keep some blankets around behind the couch or the chairs where we can easily reach them, grab them, pull over, and then we're warmed up by the blankets and we can sit in a little colder room that way.
A heated throw or a heated blanket, also a great idea. We have both of those. In fact, 2 years ago, I think this was one of the favorite gifts we got for our older boys for Christmas one year. It was 2 years ago. We got them both heated throw blankets.
Yeah,
and
they
they
loved
said
it.
they have used them a lot
Tons.
since then. Tell us if you're a huge fan of having a heated throw around, like when you're watching TV
movie-
or
a
something
movie
in
on
the
TV.
evening, so
Yeah.
you can just wrap up in it and stay toasty warm. Tell us in the comment section, will you? In fact, while you're in the comment section, will you do us a super big favor? Scroll up and hit that like button. That really helps us with the YouTube algorithm, so they show even more folks great information like you're getting on this video. And make sure you subscribe to Under the Media and hit the bell notification button.
How you handle your drapes and curtains in your house will make a big difference on how cool it is. At night, when the sun is down and maybe the wind is up, you definitely want your drapes and curtains closed. Close them as much as you can get them closed during those times of the evening. Then in the daytime, if you have a window where the daylight is coming in, that window especially, that will actually help warm your room. Open those up and let that warmth come into your house.
Speaking of windows, we are notorious for drafts. There's a couple of things that we personally are notorious for. This is a weird time of the year, right, guys? Because it sometimes gets really, really chilly and then it'll get warm. And what you do on those warm days is you open those windows. And a lot of times, if you're not watching carefully, that window comes down maybe that much from the top of the window and you don't notice. You know when you notice when you're sitting there and all of a sudden a car goes by your house and you're like, wow, that sounds really loud. And you're like, oh shoot, like the window's down that much at the top. So make sure that you're double checking that, especially if you're at a point in your season where you live, where you really don't want to have those windows open at all at night. But another old fashioned kind of hack for checking for drafts is to light a candle and put it near the window, especially on a windy day. And if that flame moves, there is a draft coming through now. There's a lot of great products you can use in order to seal those drafts up. But the whole idea is seal the drafts before winter. Something else you can do, there's this thing called draft dodgers. We've all seen them. Like sometimes they look like little animals and other stuff. They're basically a long piece of material that is filled with something that's going to keep it weighted down so that will sit right by the bottom of like a door. And you can make them super easy. Take an old-fashioned pair of tube socks, long men's tube socks. Fill both of the tube socks part way with rice, just regular, in fact, broken rice, super cheap. Broken white rice is incredibly inexpensive and great for this little 20-minute craft DIY thing, if you will. So put some of the broken rice in each one of those tube socks. Then you're going to bring them together, fold one over the top of the other. And if you don't have time, you can take some thread and you can kind of do a whip stitch around it and you can hold the socks together with thread. But if you don't have time for that, if you're like, dang it, it's cold in this house, I got to have relief right away, then just take some big some safety pins and safety pin around there just to hold it together for a little while. Put that in front of your door and immediately you're going to stop that draft. Later, you probably want to remove the safety pins though and actually sew it together.
I've seen another method that people have used. It's very similar to what Hope was talking about, that you're going to have in your house no matter what. And that's just use some bath towels, roll them up on the wide end that's going to be wide enough to fit under a doorway that's in maybe open to your front of your house. Roll it up, put it in front of that. That will stop any draft that will be coming in from the outside as well.
Speaking of a little DIY project, here's one that is super easy. You ever seen these? You can heat these up. We use these a lot when the kids were like young and they had a tummy ache or something. It's filled with rice. Once again, the broken rice. Take just some flannel material or some fleece and 2 equal rectangles. Put them back to back. And you're going to sew 3 of the edges together like you're making a pillowcase. Fill it with probably a couple of cups of the broken rice. And then you're just going to whip stitch this top together. You're creating like a little bean bag, right? It's bigger than that. It's bigger than a bean bag. Put this in your microwave for about 1.5 minutes, and then you're going to lay this across your tummy, or you can make a little longer one and put it across the back of your neck. And it's going to help keep you warm. In fact, these work really great as bed warmers. I've done it before because of my cold feet, guys. And you warm it up, put it down near your feet, make sure you put your feet on it, and it's going to help warm your feet until you're asleep. It's going to stay toasty warm.
Sounds good. Another obvious improvement that you might need to make to your home is to improve on your insulation. And we understand that insulation does cost some money. It all depends on what you need to do. But take a look and see, how is your attic insulated? Do you have enough of a layer in there to make a border so that the heat isn't just coming up through the top of your roof and out the top of your house? How about around your windows or maybe around your doors? You have styrofoam and you have other things in there that will keep air from floating through those surfaces. So insulation will save you a lot of money in the long run. It might take a little extra money to outlay that insulation the first time that you put the money out for it, but it will save you in the long run.
Here's a handy hack for you. Energy companies And oftentimes even home insulation places will come out and either for a very moderate fee or even for free, they'll come out and they'll do an energy assessment of your house, and they'll
Yes.
show you, they'll have like one of those heat guns, and they'll show you exactly where the heat is escaping from your home. They'll look at the R factor insulation, tell you how much insulation you would need to add to the attic. Larry did the insulating in our old home. This home, we qualified for a low to moderate income program through
Yes.
our utility company. So check your utility company, guys. See if they have a program like that. They came out, they assessed everything, and they put the insulation in our attic, and it cost us nothing because we qualified for the program. So look around for those. You might also look if you have some agencies in your area that deal with either senior citizens. A lot of time, if you're over the age of 60, 65, you can qualify for some programs, or it may be your income, which determines whether you're eligible for a program or not. You might be surprised at what the limits are, but it doesn't hurt to ask and to check for those in your area.
Here's what surprised me about the program in our particular area. They did a much better job of insulating our attic and around the doorways than I would have even thought of. They were really thorough. They had electronic instruments that they went back through and they tested to make sure that they really were working for us. Amazing. That next winter, we saved a lot of money on our electric and gas utility bills.
I think it immediately went down 30%, if I
Yeah.
recall. That's how much it went down.
It was surprising.
Really,
Yeah.
this is what they do for a living, guys, and with good reason, because oftentimes this is best done by a professional. Because
Absolutely.
if you do it incorrectly, you can wind up with mold and all kinds of other things in your home that you really don't want if you have not insulated correctly. So call a professional in on that one. That's our advice and our 2 cents. Here's something else you can do to keep warm, and that is, do the clinky thing with me. There you go. Warm beverages like coffee. Really, really good coffee. You can do tea if you want to, though, anyway. But hot chocolate, anything to warm yourself up. It warms yourself up from the inside out, and it really does help.
You know, Hope doesn't have to spend a lot of time talking me into this little advice point. So I really appreciate any of the warm coffee or hot chocolate or whatever we might be able to drink to kind of warm up in the evenings. It does a great job of putting that heat where it needs to be.
Here's something else you may not think of readily, and that is rugs. Rugs on cold floors, they provide an extra layer of insulation, but they
do.
also keep your tootsies warm while you are walking across said floor.
Hope generally is in charge with this next item that we're going to have here, but baking and cooking. Don't forget that once you've cooked something, let's say in your gas oven, and maybe you've had your gas oven on for 20 minutes to a half an hour, there is residual heat in there that you can turn the oven off. You're done with it now. Open the door and let that heat come into that room. That will keep your thermostat from clicking on quite as often and will bring a lot of nice warmth to where you're at in the house.
You can do that with an electric oven too, but we would say this caveat, make sure that you're following safety precautions.
Oh, yes.
If you have pets or you have small children, then you want to be very, very careful with how you are instituting that sort of a tip. Exercise, just getting up and walking around the house periodically. If you got one of these guys, Fitbit, you guys know that we're frugal, but I love this Fitbit so much. I love my Fitbit. If it broke tomorrow, I would have Larry out buying a new one for me the next day, even if it was full price. At the 10 minutes before the top of every hour, it will remind you whether you've gotten up and walked around that hour or whether you have not done so.
That is how Hope tracks all of her
track everything.
exercise activity. For me, I just get up and around and start doing some things and put my body into service. So I don't have a Fitbit.
Larry is far more motivated than I am, I must say. Okay, number 15, you're going to close unused rooms. Look, you got all that cold in there. You're just bringing it out into the rest of the house. But one of the reasons for this is you want to try to create an area of your house, especially where you're sitting, that you're keeping it comfortable.
Absolutely.
The rest of the house, you're not sleeping. You're not in unused bedrooms. You're not in the other areas of the house during the day. So keep the area where you are actually sitting warm. And to help do that, close off the rest of the areas.
Right. Electric space heaters can also take off the chilliness in a room, especially if you have a small enough room to make that space heater really work its best. You can turn that on for maybe 20 minutes or so and take the chill off of that room. Then you can sit in it and be very comfortable.
This next tip is one we do not have, but we have had so many viewers recommend it. We're going to throw it out there, and that is a heated mattress pad. We've had so many of you say that you have had one for years and absolutely love it. Our friend Prepper Princess has one and reminds me periodically that she has one and I do not. But I may get one. I might get a heated mattress pad now and try it out.
In case you're not familiar with using a heated mattress pad, what it does is it keeps the blankets above it. What you do is you want to put it right on top of your mattress and put your other blankets on top of that, and that will warm those to a very comfortable level to keep you warm at night.
Right, so when you get in immediately, like the mattress is warm, the blankets are warm, and that would make such a huge difference. Body heat, get close to your friends and family, and you share that body heat at night. I grew up in a home where I shared a bed with my sister until we were in high school, and we had an old farmhouse we lived in, and believe me, you were so happy at that moment to have a sibling beside you in bed. You didn't even say things like, get your butt over on the other side. You really wanted that person to sleep close to you.
Here's another obvious tip, and that's put on a sweater or a jacket when you're in your cooler places of your home. And that will help you get through those times when you've got the heat turned off in your house.
I think I'm totally off on the numbers. So number 22 is to wear a hat. Especially like one of those knitted hats you can just put over your head and wear it around the house, and that will help keep you warm.
Wearing a scarf can be good too. It seems to me that you lose a lot of heat out of the top part of your body, like your head and your neck areas. There's a lot of circulation that goes on in those areas, and that can transfer a lot of that into a room. But if you have a scarf or obviously the knitted hat on, if you have both of those on, you're really going to be able to conserve a lot of heat that you're going to be able to take advantage of.
Let's just say that you're like me and you're like, I do not like things around my neck. I really, truly don't. Just having on a turtleneck or something that goes way, as far up as you can, then that will help to retain the heat. Remember, we're trying to keep our core warm.
Auxiliary heating in your house is another way that you can supplant what you're doing in the colder months. If you have, let's say you have a kerosene heater, you can light that for a couple hours in the night and really take the chill off of a room.
A natural gas heater, like one of those wall heaters, those are fairly inexpensive and they work really, really well to warm up a space. A wood burning stove, a little bit more of an expensive option, but we have some viewers that said they hardly have to use their central heating at all because that wood burning stove works really, really well for them. Yeah,
wood burning stove can be a little bit more expensive to initially put in, but if you have access to some free wood, then you can supply all kinds of energy for that wood-burning stove for next to nothing.
And this next one is one that your mother used to tell you all the time as a child. Shut the front door.
Oh, yeah.
How many times as kids did we run in and out of that door, even in the fall temperatures, and not think about the fact that we're leaving that door wide open and that cool air is coming into the house. So whether you have kids or whether you have a forgetful spouse or someone else that goes in and out of that front door, maybe the forgetful person is you that forgets to shut the front door. Remember, shut the front door. Hey, don't forget, if you want all of our tips on saving on energy costs, you're going to want to make sure that you grab a copy of the Home Energy Savings Guide. We're in autumn, guys. It comes around so quickly every year, almost so quickly that it takes us by surprise. But there are some things that you can do in your home. They're going to help you prepare for winter.
It certainly gives you enough time to make those preparations, put them into place, and be ready for the really cold weather that's going to come in December and January and February. So we have a video that we did on this topic, and we have it right over there.
I spent...
I'm very sorry. It was a classic sneeze moment.
I had no idea there was such a thing as a classic sneeze moment.
It's a brand new thing. I just made it up.
Invented it.